What's going on? We're going to do a long form breakdown of my recreation of When Doves Cry by Prince. Here's the original. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Here's my recreation, just the instrumental. All right, and I isolated Prince's vocal using Serato Sample, actually. They just updated it with stem isolator. I tried using RX8 and was a bit grainier, some more artifacts. I found Serato Sample actually did a better job. Here's what that sounds like. It's not great, but it's okay. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. So there's some artifacts and stuff, but it was really helpful to have that to mix it in with my instrumental to make sure I was getting the balance of the drums and the reverbs against the voice somewhat close. All right, so we're gonna mute Prince, or actually let's hear it. I don't think I played it. Let's play it with Prince in the mix. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Yeah, so that's my instrumental with the isolated Prince vocal. I'm gonna mute Prince for now. Let's go through the tracks quickly. The big thing with this recreation was reverbs. It's such a huge part of this era of music. It's all about the gated reverbs, getting the character of the reverb to like work with the groove of the song. So luckily, Addictive Drums has the Real Machines pack, and it's really good. Like it's awesome. It has all the articulations. Here are the drums isolated. Sorry, that's the bass sound. Try it again. It's mainly isolated, just the regular Linn drums, kind of stock patches. Most of them, the pitch is right down the middle, hasn't been retuned at all. So that made it fairly simple. The hard thing was dialing in the reverbs by far. That was the hardest thing. So let's listen to the cool thing about Addictive Drums too is instead of like giving you the regular room send on the Linn drums and a lot of the electronic drums in the Real Machines pack, they actually sampled it through the RX 4000? Yes, the Stocktronics RX 4000, which is a plate verb that would have been used a lot around this time for this type of an effect. And it sounds pretty good. I got it pretty close. Here's the sort of gated bus send that's coming from inside Addictive Drums. I'm bussing that out to its own channel, and I'm gating it using Oxford Drum Gate just to control the decay in specific frequency ranges to match the original recording. It's mainly the kick actually that's being sent to it. It's the kick and the snare, so you get that. So yeah, let's go through the sounds really quickly. There's the regular snare sounds. What's interesting here? We have the side stick articulation. You can hear it in the mix. You know, it was actually fairly easy because I knew they use Linn drums, so I just went through the Linn drum sounds and, you know, just played in the part. That was probably playing in the parts is probably the fastest thing. Okay, I matched the synths, and I think I got it very close. I actually think this is exactly what they used in the studio. I did a bunch of research, and there was a lot of good information and little bits of useful information in there. And I read someone said that they may have used the DX7 with the Kodo patch. And then somewhere else, someone said that they may have used the OBXA, which makes sense. That synth is everywhere on Prince's recordings from this era. And when I listened to it, it's when I read that, I went back to the recording and I listened, and it was like, oh, I can hear two different synths for sure, panned right and left to create like kind of a wide stereo image. And then the channel on the right, I heard the decay of the synth was like a bit longer. And when I brought up my DX7, the Arturia one, they have all the default patches from the original stuff. So here's the, oh, if it'll play, let's see. No, it's not going to play. Anyways, it sounds like this. And that's what I heard. It was like, oh, that's totally on the right channel. And then on the left channel is indeed the OBXA. Just panned a bit to the left. And when you put them together, now we get that. Because I think a lot of people just use one or the other. And the DX7 will sound too bright and like kind of tinny. And the OBXA will sound a bit too analog and warm. But when you put them together, you get that attack from the DX7. So check it out. Hold up. That's definitely it. Like, I am 99% sure that that's exactly what they used. And those are being bussed out to my long plate reverb, which I'll talk about in a bit. Let's talk about it now, because the reverbs are so important for this track. So let's isolate the bus send here. And then I'm going to turn on the drums so we can hear the... All right. So I was relying heavily on the Addictive Drums internal plate verb with gate for like the shorter drum reverb sounds. But there's also like a long plate going on as well, like a short plate and a long plate. And I think that is pretty much all they're using for this recording. So the long plate bus send, I have actually probably the exact plate that they used. This is the Sunset Sound plate. And this is where they recorded this record. So it's very when I turned it on to this plate, once I got the EQ dialed in a bit, it sort of jumped out at me like, oh, that's the exact unit that they used. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm very glad that they sampled this for us, created the impulse response for this plugin. I'm compressing it a little bit, and that's about it. I left it pretty natural. I wanted this just to be the tail. So that's with it. This is without it. So you can hear there's still like the short room reverbs coming from Addictive Drums, but the long reverb tail is all coming from this guy. Cool. Let's go to the master bus. And this is actually very simple. The master bus for this one was quite simple. Just one compressor on the bus, which is, likely what they did in the studio, something like this. I don't know what master bus kind of glue they were using, or stereo bus glue, but this has just been my go-to lately. It seems like when I turn it on, it just does something nice to the sound. Again, the saturator is amazing. And it's right on, like, if I turn the input up a bit, you'll see the needle moving, and I didn't want to move the needle because I think the original has a very dynamic, like, back in the mix kind of sound, and I didn't want to bring it any more forward. kind of punch wise. Then I'm using the Drummer S73 to brighten it up a little bit. For me, this is such a great plugin. I'll put it on towards the end of like once I'm at the mix stage, I'll throw it on along with the master bus compressor to hear the mix through it. And if a lot of times it brings out a lot of the thing, it affects the overall mix in a really good way that it makes it a bit closer to the original. And I'll hear the things that are getting pushed too much. So I'll go back to the tracks where it's like, okay, I like how it brought the air out of the drums maybe, or out of the synths, but this other sound, it pulled too much air out of it. So then I'll adjust it at the instrument level. Yeah, that's it. That's it for like mixing bus. And then I'm just using Ozone 11 to just quickly master it, bring it up to, and this isn't doing too much. I think actually the Impact might be doing, a fair amount. Clarity, let's see. Run through the settings. Nice. Yep, that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for watching. I should also mention that I'm only doing like a portion of these songs, like a small clip. And I think that's actually a really good exercise to go through the whole process, to match the sounds and get the mix as close as possible and really like focus your ear in on this detail, kind of this section of music, rather than trying to recreate the whole track, which is kind of like, why, it would be so much work and what's the point? The exercise for me is to match tones and sounds as closely as possible while not, spending weeks and weeks. Like I can do this in a matter of hours. So it's a really great exercise.